This is the Rebel Scum podcast. Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors, news, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. Support us on Patreon for exclusive offers and join the Star Wars discussion. Patreon.com/RebelScumPodcast. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You are always scum. Rebel scum.
Rebel scum. Boom, 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 boom. Like that was like the first time in a long time that the opening actually goes smoothly through. Rebel Scum podcast. I'm Brock. This is what? You're muted.
Not everything can go. I'm not Brock. I'm James.
James. Episode 298.
Crazy.
James.
Crazy that we're on the cusp-ish of 300.
3 Hondo.
300.
James, what are we going to talk about today? Is there Star Wars things?
Well, you're just coming home from being away for 3.5 years.
3.5 years, and I'm tired, so I got out my Navarro mug.
Oh, nice. Disney Desi is in the Epcot parking lot waiting for her kids to wake up from their nap.
What a life!
Sure,
what a life!
Sure, I know. That's like the equivalent of like name dropping like Lucas, I guess, to us. It's like, oh yeah, so I was just hanging out with George. Like, I'm at Epcot again in my life. Oh, I can't even take it. Well, you know what? I drove by Wonderland this summer in Ontario, Canada.
It's not even owned by Paramount anymore. Boom.
It's not. It doesn't have Hanna-Barbera either, but it has, I think, SpongeBob or Snoopy or something is there now. So when I was a kid, it was all Hanna-Barbera. Hanna-Barbera Land. It was the best.
Yeah.
Now it's like you could eat. I don't know if you still can, but you could eat in a Flintstone car. It had the table. You're in the car.
Oh, fun.
And yeah. So take that, Disney.
Yeah. In your tropical environment you live in.
Yeah, it's not getting warm out. Tomorrow's gonna be like 5 degrees here. Or I don't know what that is in American, like 11. I don't know what that is.
They failed on Fahrenheit.
Disney does he's doubling down, and I could have said because they're so tuckered out from doing missions for Hondo.
We get it. You have a season pass and you live near Orlando.
Is it like a season pass, or is it just like you once you're in the Disney like club, you're in like the Mickey Mouse club, like you're in like Christina Aguilera and Ryan Gosling can never escape that. They're always in the Mickey Mouse. Do you think they get like memberships there all the time? I mean, not because of who they are today, but because of who they were in the 90s. Do you think so? They should.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like, but I think you need some kind of like season pass. I don't know if that's what it's called. I can't think of it, but annual pass. There we go. But
because unlike Wonderland, their season is summer, and it's all year.
Yeah, more or less. They have rain for a minute, and then it's summertime.
When I was a kid,
but like. Disney he's definitely paying to get in that park because the big hullabaloo with Disney fans is that it is super expensive now. They just raised their prices yet again.
They're like the Netflix of theme parks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, what fun. I think a lot of Disney vloggers are like quitting doing anything like that. I think. I don't know how much.
Go to Disney. Wow.
Oh, it's like. I think it's like $50 more. I don't want to speak to it because I really haven't done the research because it's just expensive. Period. It's Disney. But if you want to
think of how much it.
Like shout out to Disney Desi's channel. I'm sure they talk about that ad nauseum. So, but yeah, what were you gonna say?
Our seasons are summer and hurricane seasons. I was gonna say, whenever I go to Disney, which is not obviously that often, I don't even think about the price because I know it's going to be way too expensive, especially with the conversion. Like the Canadian dollar, Brock. I don't know if you know this, but it's not worth anything. Like it is like it's really bad right. And I've noticed that because like subscriptions and stuff. I'm like, how come it's like this? And you're like, oh my god, it's like it's so send us canned food if you can. That'd be great for all of us. We're gonna look. I wanted to talk to you, Brock, today, episode 298. Just a simple Saturday show. Matthew Vaughn is being interviewed about the Matthew Vaughn stuff, and he was at one point, I believe, he was up for episode 7, and he was one of the names that was in the hat. I think J.J. Abrams was always the name in the hat. Disney is saying it is $50 a month extra.
That's awesome.
So anyway, so he was in the running or whatever it was, and he's recently talking about all these things. He was a Superman movie he wanted to do, a Superman trilogy actually that he wanted to do, and then he mentioned Star Wars. Did you hear about this at all? I think this happened while you were sipping on Long Island iced teas and daiquiris. That's just a regular Friday night.
Yeah.
No, so he apparently came out and he said that Star Wars, I'm going to paraphrase because I haven't read the whole thing either, but I didn't want to. Star Wars needs to be rebooted and they need to stick with the Skywalkers. And I thought, and if you look at it as a Star Wars fan, you're like, you're an idiot. And then you yell and you scream on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. And that's it. And Brock, hold on a second.
Oh, wow.
Oh, just got word. Kathleen Kennedy was fired, and it's all thanks to Disney supporting her kid.
$5 if you fire.
And I'll bet you she put down like 49 cents. And the conversion brought it up to thank you so much.
$4.99. That's like a Mickey waffle you just threw away on us.
She's like, I get those for free. They know my name here. Well, thank you so much. And she did that right as KK got fired. The timing couldn't have been more serendipitous. But anyway, look. So on the surface, Brock, I think what he's saying is, we would all say that is nonsense. But if you think about it, I don't think you recap, you reboot with A New Hope or anything like that. But I do think they kind of were doing that with The Force Awakens to an extent. Like they were kind of doing it, and then they kind of stopped doing it. But I'll let you go, and then I'll say some more. But I don't know. What do you think of those thoughts?
Which one's Matthew Vaughn? What is his stuff?
Kingsman, X-Men First Class.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I had the right person.
Yeah,
but it's just like he should know that it's like if you have a world that you've created, it's like you can easily just make the same character over and over again. He doesn't have to be named the same. Like we can do a Star Wars story where there's like a plucky young kid that just wants to do good and be seen in the galaxy and make his mark. And then he meets a rogues gallery of characters. Some are aliens, some are women, some are robots, some are absentee fathers. Like that story's been done over and over in I'm not, that's not even a Star Wars thing. That's like fantasy for like, I don't know, from the 1950s to the 1980s. I feel like right now the current realm of fantasy has kind of evolved, but like we can easily create a new Skywalker saga with the almost identical character. Just call him something new. Like find someone that has a Mark Hamill vibe and a Carrie Fisher vibe, and we're off to the races. I argue the 3 they tried to do that with, it's like they could have done it, but they were too bogged down in the fact like we have to have the original cast connect in a way.
Well, see here, okay, I agree with you, but I also think they needed to have the original cast connect because it.
Yes.
Not the original cast, but like they need to. But I think their biggest mistake was calling it the Skywalker Saga, which I believe was named in 2012, either before or after I don't know when, but I do know there was a book published. Our old friend years ago, Aaron Quinton sent me a thing, and it was 2012 was published the first time that he could find the Skywalker Saga. And I'm like, well, to me though, it's like, okay, even if you call it the Skywalker Saga, who cares? Don't end it. Don't end the Skywalker Saga. Don't be like, this is the end of the Skywalker Saga, because that is just a marketing tactic for that one movie that Disney is a massive fan of, The Rise of Skywalker. She just took back that $4.99, just took it right back. But like, you know what I mean? Like, if they didn't say that, or even if they were like Skywalker Saga, whatever, but we follow Rey, Finn, and Poe, and obviously Kylo and all those, but we follow them, and then we have, you know, Luke, Han, and Leia, and then we can just get away from Luke, Han, and Leia and follow these new characters who basically are the characters that we all love from the original trilogy anyway. So we follow these characters, and then we just follow those characters. Like, I don't know why they were obsessed with ending it, because like you said, you could tell the same story with different characters, and it's not a reboot, which is basically what they did with The Force Awakens. Force Awakens is very similar to A New Hope, but we had new characters. It was fun characters. I'm like, let's hang out with these characters. Then we hung out with those characters, and then they're like, you know what? Twitter didn't like The Last Jedi. Let's end it with the next one. Like, something happened, but now they're going to bring Rey back for a movie. And it's like, and people are upset about that also. But I'm like, yeah, but that's what, like, we should just keep going. Like, just keep going. I love the Mandoverse and everything, but at some point, like, can we just move? Like, I know where that leads now. Can we go somewhere where the future is up in the air, and I don't know? Yeah.
I think that's why these new movies, the Willie Gold, what's that director? Gold, whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. Like
Alan Smithy?
Alan Smithy. Like the thought of like, oh, here we're gonna do a Star Wars story 10,000 years in the past. So like,
oh, Mangold.
Yeah. We would like to continue into the future of Star Wars, but like, why not go in a totally different direction? It's the same. It's like you're setting in the same world, just a different era. So there's no way there's any cross-pollinate. Like Yoda might not even be able to cross-pollinate. So it's like, I think you're right. Like, it's like we hear the term like reboot and retcon, and it means something negative for certain fans. Like, I would argue they're constantly retconning Star Wars. Actually, what am I saying? Everyone else knows this. Half the articles I see when I look for Holo News is like, this is the mistake that Star Wars made. It's like, but
I just saw that today.
Yeah. Every week. The 10 mistakes they made when Yoda wore a burlap sack. Like, it's just like,
yeah, but like George Lucas retconned in like right away, like in the original trilogy. Empire Strikes Back, he retconned. Return of the Jedi, he retconned. And then the prequels was nonstop retconning. Like, and George Lucas literally was like, he almost went reverse Disney on it, where people were like, I didn't like the Phantom Menace, and he's like, well, Jango Fett. He's like Boba Fett, but he's Jen. And he's like, everyone loves Boba Fett. Like, he was like so much. Whereas Ryan Johnson is like, remember Luke Skywalker? He's throwing the light. Like, it was like, but they're both like the same type of thing though. Yeah. Where it's like, we're gonna do it in a way. So I mean, I don't know, Brock. They've been doing this for 40 whatever years, 46 years of 46 years. Of course, you're going to retcon, and people get mad when Filoni in Bad Batch when he retconned Kanan's Order 66. Who the hell? Like, of course, it's a comic book that 3 people read. You could buy it at the dollar store. And no offense to the comic book, it's actually a good comic, but it wasn't popular. Like, of course, retcon it. If they do it in live action, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be different every time. Exactly. I think we need to. I do think when it comes to retconning, we need to like just take it back a notch and just enjoy what's presented to us. And I mean, I don't know. I think if you're watching the same medium and it changes drastically, then it's different. But I think the retcons Star Wars has had since the original trilogy haven't been. I don't know. They haven't ruined anything. I think. To be honest, I think they've just added a lot.
Yeah, no, I think you're like, you could almost argue that like retconning is anything where you add new information to what already existed. Like, I can't think of an example, but like, I don't know. I'm sure if you dug enough, you would find like they made some statement about how hyperspace works, and then they're like, oh, now mentioning all the Purgles, like none of this makes sense. It's like, well, whatever. I mean, I think I've said this before many times on this podcast. Is like when you read Heir to the Empire, it's very clear that it was written before the concept of a Sith was thought up, because there's never a reference to if you're Vader or whatever, you are a Sith. It's like it's so many things that you're like you don't think about until you read something that's like, well, why would that happen? It's like, oh, right, this was written before prequels. This was written like 5-10 years after the actual original trilogy. Like there was no set thing in place. If anything, the Legends books, those extended universe stuff, is like what pushed Star Wars. Like, oh, we need to write more info down because like now we're making moves. So like it's not, again, like you said, it's like it's nothing new. It's like if anything, but like in Reboot, I don't think it's a bad thing to say. When you sent the rundown of like, does Star Wars need to be rebooted? I was like, The first thing that popped in my head is something I keep seeing on Instagram is like, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but HBO is thinking about rebooting the Harry Potter
the show
series as a show. And it's like, I mean, it's not a bad idea because even though, you know, J.K. Rowling isn't the most well received person right now, like I think Harry Potter still is well beloved. So it's like they had a picture of not real people, just AI generated people, but a different look to Hermione, Harry, and Ron. I'm like, I would watch that. Why not? But yeah, it's so new. It's like, why are you doing like just? But I don't know, like what makes money.
I think rebooting Harry Potter is different from. It's different in that it's not like Harry Potter were books, and then people fell in love with the books, and then they fell in love with the movies. Star Wars was movies, and then it was movies.
Yeah.
And then it was like it's a little bit different because the actors and the characters are so connected. However, to that point, we're kind of like the Force Awakens. Okay, the sequels aside, let's push the sequels aside because we got them. Whatever. The Mando stuff, possibly Acolyte, but the Mando verse stuff is almost in a way a soft reboot of Star Wars.
Yeah,
in a way. It's a reboot within the world that we already know because it's giving us new characters, and now with it's taking us on this new journey. And I don't know exactly what Matthew Vaughn was referring to, but I mean this is it's been working. People are watching. I know people complained about Boba Fett, obviously season 3 of Mando, and I think the ending of Ahsoka we all did. But like it's kind of like we're on this reboot path anyway, and we're not there yet, obviously. Like I think that's what I think what we're seeing is a reboot without being a reboot, and it's just in universe characters, new characters taking us on new adventures where we leave the old characters behind us.
Yeah, I don't see a problem. Like, how often have we said on this podcast, it's like, oh, it'd be cool to see like what was it like between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, like with specifically the original trilogy characters. Like, oh, what is this Luke and Lando trip they do? This is a good question from Disney. Did George always intend Darth to be like Mr. for Sith, or was it originally just a first name? That is a good question. Like,
we'll never know.
Yeah.
Because he would say an answer, but it probably isn't what he thought of 47 years ago. You know, like
I wish there were like, you know how like 10 years ago they published like Kurt Cobain's like notebooks from before Nirvana was a thing, and it's like you see his like thought process of like certain songs and stuff. I would give anything for a George Lucas diary, or like just anything that just like shows how like he was just figuring it out as he goes.
Yeah, like the Journal of the Wills, whatever thing that he wrote with Luke Starkiller, Journal of the Wills, blah blah.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool to see, because I would like to see because you can see the old interviews where Mark Hamill's like, oh yeah, they're gonna go back and make movies before Luke Skywalker's around. He's like a little kid Luke Skywalker. Like they had those ideas in the 80s. Actually, I think I mentioned this on the show before, but in the 90s, Brock, there was a show. This is in the 90s. It's funny. A show on CP24, and it was called Rewind, and they would play like every night, like late at night, like early. I was a teenager, not whatever. And they would show old interviews, and one of them was with, I don't know if you remember, Deanie Petty, Canada's own.
Yeah, Deanie Petty.
She was doing the news, and she interviewed Harrison Ford, and she goes, "What?" And this was I think it was 1984 or 86 was this interview. And she's like, what do you think of that? George Lucas is going to make more Star Wars? And he just says, George knows what I think of Star Wars. And that's all he says. And he's very angry about it. But I'm agree. Like, I want to see those too, because he's had ideas for a long time. And I want to see what those ideas originated as versus what we got. Cool. And I don't want to, though, to do YouTube videos complaining what we could have had and all that. I just want to see what his original, because the thing too is, like, whether you like it better or not, ideas evolve. I want to see how his ideas evolve, what he kept. I told you in Droids, if you watch the old Droids cartoon, there are things in there that show up in the prequels 15 years later, like little small details that you're like, these are obviously things in his notepad, in the artist departments, things like that they just repurposed. And I just find that fascinating.
It's just. Yeah, it's so funny how, I mean, we're living in an era where the Britney Spears like memoir is about to come out, where it's like revealing all this like crazy stuff. It's just like, can we just understand that we enjoy storytelling? So it's like, if someone has a story to tell, they just tell it, and you decide, I like this or I don't. So Disney Daddy's talking about, on the Star Cruiser, there was a guy who looked like a Mandalorian Iron Man. His backstory was that his name was Tony Starkiller, and his father, Howard Starkiller, designed Starkiller face.
That's awesome.
I hail from Murder Planet.
Hire that person to write KK, and that's why KK was just let go earlier today. It's sad. It's sad, but I don't know, the idea of rebooting. I think if it's a hard reboot and you cast somebody else to be Han, Luke, and Leia, I think that's when people are like, "What's the point?" But I think if you do these false reboots like Force Awakens and Terminator, they've all tried it. I think those are really the way to go. Just like continue the story. Like they're like the requels, right? Like they're not sequels. They're requels. Scream did it very well.
Yeah.
Probably, other than Star Wars, the most successful of all of them, because they seem to all. Or Jurassic Park did it. Oh God, Jurassic Park. Somebody tweeted or X'd earlier today, like a thing from the Duel of the Fates, Colin Trevorrow, like the what's it called, the concept art from it, and they're like, we were robbed, and I was like, oh God, I don't know. I watched that last Jurassic World movie, and I'm telling you right now, I just don't believe it would have been this good. Like, I mean, I just feel like it would have fallen off the rails at some point. Even if you hate Traz, I feel like we probably lucked out with the Rise of Skywalker versus whatever. Because that last Jurassic World movie, man, the second last one was bad. The last one was like, I am going to fix this problem, make it worse. So that was something else. You want to go to the odds?
Let's do it. Never tell me the odds.
Brought to us by Patreon.
Patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast. If you like what we do and you love to hear us babble, why don't you go over to Patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast and support us in any way you can. It will be greatly appreciated.
You're missing a name, Brock.
What name am I missing?
Yeah. The third name is going to be Dale Erdman.
No, Dale Erdman. Boom. I don't even have the thing. Okay. Third name. Okay. But yeah, come and support us, and that we greatly appreciate it. And the people that love us for whatever reason, we like to shout them out on every episode. Those people are Heidi Feder, executive producer, Barry Brophy, Dale Erdman, or do I say Dennis Allen and then say Dale Erdman?
Whatever.
Doesn't matter. Both of them. Dennis and Dale. Thank you so much. Randy Kenobi, Mary Kristen Aton, Jeff Wilson, Phil Stanforth, Rez.
Scott D, Josh Price, Matt W, Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, Cosmic Girl 02, Gleek Play 1, Den Nerds, Disney Desi, who I think is still on the Star Cruiser ship, and Charlotte. Thank you for all of your support. As long as you don't forget. Oh, look at this. As much as I hate Tross, Collins would have been even worse. And I just, after, like, honestly, the last Jurassic World movie, I can't argue with that. I just feel like we dodged a bullet as moviegoers before we got Rise of Skywalker. Never Telling Lies. Thank you so much, Patreon. It is awesome. We appreciate all your support. First odd, we will eventually meet a long lost Skywalker. Brock, somewhere along the way, they're gonna be like, "My name is Jonas Skywalker."
I mean, I've been reading the High Republic stuff, and they make references to like the Santeca clan and oh gosh, the Staros clan, which are like, you know, descendants of or ascendants, but like the forebears of characters we meet in the movies and in the comics. Is like, that's cool. I like that. I would be more into like Skywalker, somebody that isn't like a sibling but is somehow related to that family. Of course, we've written ourselves in the corner of like there's just no Shmi and then nothing else, but maybe they can find a way. Like like what Disney does is saying here, because like the question is, will we ever meet a long lost Skywalker?
Yeah, Skywalker. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 35%. Not bad.
I'm gonna go full Brock because I feel like they won't, but one day they're gonna have so few ideas. Someone's gonna be like, "What if the first Skywalker is found?" And they were. I feel like it's gonna go that way. I hope it's not. Like for me, I don't know. Skywalker's fine, but we don't need to. I'm gonna go full Brock because I kind of have this feeling like you run out of ideas, you go down that road. Next, the Rey movie will actually happen. Well, the Rey movie happened. Look, man, the thing is, I didn't really believe in it before all these strikes, but now after the strikes, I'm like, oh man.
I'm gonna go full Brock on this one because I don't know. I think they're gonna make movies at some point. What they're gonna be about, who knows? Like, who knows? I'm tired of seeing a timeline or a black screen that says like a cool title slide on it. Like until I'm studying the seat of the theater, I'm not gonna believe anything. So I know they want to make movies. I just don't know what it's gonna be about. So that's why I'm gonna go full Brock 50-50.
Did you see the David Goyer interview where he mentioned him and Guillermo del Toro? We talked about it last week. We're making they wrote a Star Wars movie. It was a Jabba the Hutt movie.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt.
But Goyer mentioned working on Man of Steel and how Man of Steel was never meant to be what it ended up being. It was just meant to be like its own kind of thing. And then he said that they were the heads of DC, Warner Brothers, they kept changing so much and everybody came in with a new game plan. And apparently, remember, like we always kind of tease that slate of DC films that show like that timeline of all the DC movies that were going to come out for like the 10-year span or whatever. Apparently, he was like, that wasn't even a thing. Someone just did it one day. Like one of the executives, like, this is what we're going to make. And like apparently, like none of the scripts were being worked on or anything. I feel like Star Wars, even though it has that same fault to it, I think that they are a little bit further ahead where they have scripts and game plans for it. But I'm gonna go 60%, 61% on this. 61%. I think it's gonna happen. Somehow, it might not be good, it might be amazing, but I think it is gonna happen. I think it has to happen. They can't continue to tell us movies are coming and not coming. So I think that's gonna be the one that's gonna happen. The Mando one for sure, Rey next, and then the Mangold one. That one I can see not happening. Yeah. And our final odd. Will Grand Admiral Blue Man Thrawn be in Mandalorian Season 4? We're going to get Thrawn in Season 4 of The Mandalorian.
I want to say yes. But also, we have this whole. I mean, we all assume season 4 is going to be a lot about Mandalore. I guess. I don't know.
I don't. I think it's going to be Mando and Grogu just doing odd jobs.
Oh, yeah. I honestly can't remember what I thought of what would be next. Because it's like, yeah, we do end, and it's like, we're retiring. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be the smart move. So I'm going to go 75%. Like, you went all to the trouble of bringing this character in and doing almost nothing with it in Ahsoka. So show us why.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this because I'm with you. Like I completely agree with what you just said. But on the other hand, if Mandalorian season 4 is going to be its own show, they might not bother with Thrawn. It might just be Grogu and Mando going on missions. That being said, the show's never been about what we thought it was going to be about since day one. But I don't know. I'm really torn. I am going to go 65% on it. I'm going to give it the up. But I'm really torn. Like, I just don't. I could see them be like, no, Thrawn's not a part of what we're doing. Even though they teased him in season 3, I just feel like I just don't think that might be on the forefront of their minds for that. I think, like, in the grand scheme of things, he is, and I think, though, I don't know, at some point these shows are going to become something like Mando will end, but the character won't. Like, that's why I think character's going to go into this show and then that show, and beyond forever. That's what I think is going to happen. I think that's when you get more Thrawn, but I could run. But I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 65% because,
especially since they've more or less solidified the concept of like the Mando's not going to always take his helmet off, so it's like that's so easy. Like, yeah,
that's really going to help them. Disney is saying Hondo percent. Mm-hmm. We'll see what the show. It never goes the way that we expect it to go.
Oh yeah, which is good.
But I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
that's for everyone else to do. And now we got top 5.
Top 5.
Today's top 5. Top 5 Star Wars board games.
I was like,
I don't know. I was just thinking because I have one of them. I have several of them, but they're not great. I'm going to go number 5 is going to be Star Wars Monopoly. Take your pick. I have the Solo one. I have the Force Awakens one. They sent me the Rey figure because remember it didn't come with a Rey, which was still, to me, it's still a weird choice. But
yeah, that's right.
And they were like, we didn't want to spoil that she's a Jedi. Then give her staff. Then they put her staff in. She uses a weapon through the entire movie. A gun, a staff. Like, she uses it the whole time. Didn't have to be a lightsaber. But my number 5 is Monopoly.
Is Dejeric the card game or the chessboard game in Star Wars? I can't remember.
That's the card. I think it's the chess. What? That's what Han and when we do the show, I my brain stops working. Somebody
all the info that we've kept in our brains forever. Yeah, Dejeric. Sorry, I just want to make sure. I'm gonna say that is my number 5 because it's actually something in the movie, but you can buy a Dejeric board, or like I don't know. But
right. I'd get it. I didn't know that. My number 4 is I don't know. It's like X-Wing Rebellion, like those games with those. I've never played it, so I don't know why it's on my list. But it looks cool. You get these fish and stuff, and I'm like, well, that looks intense. And it's like $125 Canadian, so like $3.50 American. It looks really cool. Disney does it. I don't even know 5 Star Wars games. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure they sell Star Wars Haunted Mansion, the board game at Epcot.
I'm gonna go number 4 is Star Wars Clue.
Yeah,
it was.
I have that.
It was Kylo Ren in the reactor room with the Jarrett cubes,
which is what all Star Wars movies should be based on. My number 4 is Operation, the Baby Yoda Operation, and that Sabak.
I saw that one too.
That's my number 4 is Operation. Number 3 is Operation. Is the card game.
Yeah. My number 3 is also going to be Baby Grogu Operation because I also saw that when I Google searched this.
My number 2 is Trivial Pursuit. Trivial Pursuit's always fun. It's just questions. You can't be. We used to do trivia during COVID. Remember when COVID first started? We did trivia like every day,
Oh
almost at
yeah.
lunchtime. It was fun, man. Trivia is always fun.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna make it that Star Wars. It wasn't Trivial Pursuit, right? It was just a trivia game.
Oh yeah, that
Wars
one wasn't. No, that
3.
one was just trivia game. Yeah.
Yeah, by Cardinal, and they kept making mistakes on things, and we were
Yeah,
arguing Cardinals needs to be updating these things.
They
I'll
gave
make
it
that
to a
my number
Star
2
Trek
because that's an
fan.
actual game I play.
Yeah, they gave it to a Star Trek fan to come up with all the questions. And my number 1, I own it. It is the Death Star, and that is Star Wars Clue. Star Wars Clue is my number 1. Yeah.
My number 1 is going to be Star Wars Monopoly because I remember getting that for Christmas and loving it. The pewter characters were sick. So
is it the new Monopoly, like the Force Awakens one?
Well, I feel it was old.
Like
it was
the
like
real
original trilogy. This is like
okay, so it's
15
so it's
years ago.
actual Monopoly because the new ones. I don't know if you've got any new Monopoly games. I have a few. They're not Monopoly. They've dumbed them down. Not dumbed them. Like they've made them more for kids actually, so you can play in like a half hour. The Avengers one is you have to collect the stones, and then once the stones are collected, it's done. And there's 4 of them. So it's like the game is like 20 minutes. You're like, this is. It's not Monopoly. Like the Monopoly part of the game really doesn't matter. Or I don't know. I can't remember. What are there? 5? Whatever. The stones. You pick the stones and that's it.
Yeah.
And those are our top 5. Let us know what your top 5s are in the comments below. This is episode 298 of the podcast. A short one today. Brock's got to go mow the lawn. And I have to go buy my canned beans for dinner.
I had baked beans this morning for breakfast. Ooh. It was actually very nice.
I love baked beans. This is not a food show, Brock.
Food show.
Top 5 in-universe Star Wars food. That'll be next. Next week is our Halloween show.
Yeah. the Rebel Scum Spookcast.
And Disney, Disney, I'm gonna send you an email to discuss you coming on to talk about the Star
Wars.
I have an idea of which episode I want that on, but I have to talk to Brock about it first because he might not want to wait that long. We'll see. And our schedules have to meet up too as well. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, for listening. Give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a share, a ring the bell to stay up to date. Brock, anything else you would like to say on this fine show today?
No, I don't know. I'm out. I just wish we had more Star Wars stuff. It's just Ahsoka was nice to have, but it's now we have nothing for a while.
It's gonna be a long few months.
Yeah.
Or whatever the heck the next one is.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
I'm trying to share this link on Patreon for everyone, but it's just not working. I'm very behind. I forgot to do it. That now worked. I'm excited for Skeleton Crew, though, to be honest. I don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. And that's everything. Thanks for watching, everyone. Once again, give us we already said that. Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel Scum.
Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.